Welcome to the bold analysis. 3 days ago, there is an leak that emerged from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that was a leak of the traveling request, rather the traveling documents of Uhuru Kenyatta's family. And because according to the details of the said trip, is that nearly close to 8 members of Uhuru Kenyatta's nuclear family members were supposed to fly to UK on 2nd August. And that is including the children, the mother, and other members of his nuclear family. They're supposed to be holding a meeting in UK, not US, in UK on I think 10th August. They're going to meet as a family and decide the direction they shall gonna take, considering their commercial and political interests in the country. And somewhere, those who have appetite for propaganda decided to leak those documents. And the essence of that leakage was to run a political propaganda, because they were leaked at a time when, just a few days after the end of the mass action of the street protest. And what has been, when Mike Sonko shared it, Mike Sonko insinuated that Uhuru Kenyatta had already had plans to leave the country on 2nd of August, while the rest of the country were actually protesting. So those who leaked the documents, the intention was to show that Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to remove his family from the country as things will escalate. That is what has been highly insinuated by those who leaked those documents. But again, I understand that was after, that was even after the mass action had been stopped by the Azimio la Umoja team. And so there have been different mixed reactions as to why that document was leaked. Now, different Kenyans have been asking, what is the security of the personal data? But of course, being that this is a practice that we see, and you cannot just put it on Kenya Kwanza alone, even during Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. Some people, sometimes when you are within the premises of power, when you are around, when you have power, you have access to everything happening in the country. Everything happening in the country. And so, it is something that is usually there. I remember even the narrative of Mama Ngina fleeing the country. You know, you can always know what each and every person is doing in this country, especially the prominent leaders. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs was supposed to facilitate the entry visas to UK. Now, what was done as a political propaganda has literally backfired because of what I'm going to show you next. According to some latest report that is emerging, there are different stakeholders and diplomats that have raised questions, or rather concerns, about the security of the privacy or the personal privacy of high-profile individuals in the country in the wake of such reckless leaks. This has been happening because what many will actually expect is that those who are doing the leak, or those who leaked those documents, are just people within the premises of power. It was of course, to show Uhuru Kenyatta that, we are now in power and we know everything you're doing. It was this and that. But then, Uhuru Kenyatta has also responded saying that he also needed time for his family, being that he was a president for all that year, for the 10 years, he's not been getting his own private life. And so he was just taking time to break from the usual chaotic politics in the country so that he will also unwind with his family. He said that his family needs him, and now it's also time that he takes time to stay with the family. But many had understood it as if the president was leaving the country, which I don't think is something to be seen. Now, the diplomats have raised very legitimate questions on the security, or rather the privacy, of personal details that government is holding. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our video. Thank you very much for those who are supporting us from every part of the globe. Now, I need to remind you about Topmark Movers in Kenya. Topmark Movers are an amazing company. They're reliable, professional and affordable in movement of your office items, household and fumigation, all that they do. So what you need to do is when you are moving your stuff from one place to the other, your biggest concern is normally the safety of your treasures. That is why consider working with contacting Topmark Movers here. The number is 07 19 17 43 93. Topmark Movers, they're saying quality is everything, and I am a guarantor here that quality is everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to look at these latest concerns and why William Ruto must then set some, you must create some firewalls. As much as there is political propaganda, which is a tool that for the first time I'm seeing it being used in government. It was normally used during campaigns, but even running government we are seeing it being used. But there should be firewalls. There should be a red line to where it can be crossed. There is a place you cross, especially when it comes to personal information like travel documents and so that. So, what is the real question here? Number one, the envoys feel that if the details of a former president, travel details of a former president, can be exposed in that manner, then it also putting others at risks. The diplomats are feeling like, okay, fine. Government has a lot of details of us, where we are, what we're doing, and everything about it. And so if there is bit of that leakage and it is not arrested in time, then surely it simply says that there's some loophole somewhere. So it puts the details of being put under the envoys are also feeling that it is a window that if not closed can be abused. Secondly, it can also compromise the security of high-profile dignitaries. It's possible. Kenya is a country, when you can always say where everyone, what everyone is doing, especially the high-profile people like the president, former president. What about if it's a loophole that can be used? And that's one of the worries, that it can compromise the security of high-profile individuals. Number three, we seem to have read the principles of operation within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the altar, at the political altar. This is a ministry that it's very prestigious. It's the center of diplomacy. It's the center of efficacy. It's where efficacy is needed, competence and strong principles, especially as those around international relations. So it is something that we seem to have eroded, and Waziri Mutua, who has also worked in the past as a government spokesperson, must really do something. Now, there is absolutely no problem with the president flying out of the country to UK, former president flying out of the country to UK or to any other place. But again, the constructed narrative of president leaving the country probably is not something that should be there. However, we seem to be a bit obsessed with where Uhuru is, or what Uhuru is doing. And I'm just wondering to what interest, or how does it, where is it that much of attention into? There's a lot of attention being paid into the first family, and I agree with those who say that to some extent it is diversionary. To some extent it is diversionary. Whenever something happens and you want to divert the attention from whatever the country is speaking about, you try to pull Uhuru Kenyatta's name in the fold. And through that, you whip the emotions of the whole country, and people then tend to think along that line. Now, one thing that then proves is there've been a lot of concentration, a lot of discussion about what Uhuru's take in whatever is happening in the country. Now that if he's actually leaving, and the talks and everything is going on here, that simply also shows that the propaganda of Uhuru's involvement and Uhuru's interest in whatever is going on is something that has really been misplaced. And so, if I were Uhuru Kenyatta family, and I think they're in the limelight, they're family of interest, and if I were them, then what I would actually do, I would give William Ruto his dose. And if it is giving William Ruto his dose, is to leave that which is associating me, so that everything that happens, let's work on it. We don't relate on friendship, but we relate on law and what the law says. What does the law say? Instead of running to grab the guns for my sons and this, what does the law say? Instead of being, I think there is a bit of a possibility of looking for a leaning vice president, former president. I don't know why someone would want Uhuru to be leaning towards the administration, because if anything, there was a bit of demonizing what Uhuru did, and no one would really want to associate with Uhuru Kenyatta's policies. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my take. Let's come back with the Russia talk.